So when it comes to the world of anime and adapting the stories from video games, it is a lot of hit or miss. You've had some great animes created from games like the Tales of series, but then you've also had some poor ones like the Persona series. So when it came to this anime, I went into it with a lot of like I wasn't sure how I was going to take it, but I actually enjoyed this series. My name's the Noob, and come along with me as we talk about the anime series Angels of Death. So Angels of Death started off as a horror RPG game that is for Microsoft and the Nintendo Switch. And it is in Japan. I don't know if it's been ported to the US. I'm actually thinking about finding out. Horror video games and horror anime are kind of a tough thing to put together. Take a look at Resident Evil. I mean, it's either been hit or miss, and that's a great example of horror video games. But Angels of Death actually surprised me on how much I enjoyed this. Now first, let's start off with what is Angels of Death. The anime starts out with a 13-year-old girl known as Ray Gardner. Before the anime starts, was being brought to a hospital because she apparently had witnessed a murder and people want to check on her psychologicalness. But she wakes up in a basement in a very strange building, and the only thing that she can remember is her name and why she was brought to the hospital. Now she finds out she's on the 7th basement level of whatever building she's in, and she is trying to find her way out of this. During her adventures, she comes across a young man wielding a scythe. Apparently he is a serial killer known as Isaac Foster, or also known as Zack. He chases her down, and eventually he's about to kill her, but the look on her face is very emotionless. And he comes to decide that he does not want to kill her because he doesn't get an enjoyment out of it. These two make an agreement because apparently he's trapped down here as well. She will help him escape if he promises to kill her when they do. Now that alone, first of all, captured my attention because this little blonde, blue-eyed girl who was, first of all, running away from the serial killer, decides to ask him to kill her once she has helped him escape. Now that alone is a very unique premise to this story. So once they agree, the whole anime is them literally getting out of these strange floors. Now, like I said, they start on B7, which is the bottom basement. Apparently B6 was designated to Zack. Apparently whoever comes to these floors, he gets to kill them. He's apparently killed a lot. But each floor has a different person assigned to them. There's this crazy doctor. There's this little hooded boy who likes to dig graves. There's a blind priest that uses poisons. There's a sadistic woman who likes to be judge and jury and executioner. Throughout this whole anime, the one thing that kept catching my attention is, who is Rachel Gardner? Because as you watch through the anime, there's these little clues hidden around on walls and, rooms and all that, that seem to indicate things of her past. And now Zack doesn't care. His whole purpose in this anime is get out of here, kill her, go on with his life. But each of the other characters, they seem to have their own sick, twisted pleasure on how they kill people. So their interactions are what make this story interesting. This anime had 16 episodes altogether. Now the 12 were shown on TV. The last 4, which were considered OVAs, were only done online, which was a little odd, but once I waited and I watched it all, I enjoyed it. It actually ended the series pretty well. For a horror anime, this has actually been a very good one for me because I have watched a lot of horror anime that unfortunately seem to rely on jump scares and excessive amount of bloods. This one was more of a psychological horror. Each level seemed to play with the person's mind. Yes, there was some levels that had physical torturements, like that sadistic woman in her judge and jury one was electrocuting Zack at some point, but a lot of the other ones, like the priest, he kept using poisons to basically make people hallucinate and You had the kid who wanted to bury Rachel because he had fallen in love with her. The doctor was the sickest person of all. He fell in love with Rachel because of her eyes, the way they looked, and he was very, very creepy. Like, if you met this kind of person in real life, you'd want to punch them. And he seemed to be the main antagonist in this whole series. By the end of it, now this is a bit of a spoiler in case you haven't watched it, so if you don't want to know how it ends, stop here. But at the end of it, they do get out. You find out why Rachel was in there, which I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let that be. The cops show up. Zach gets arrested. Rachel is taken to another hospital for treatment and all that. Him and Rachel still have that promise of killing each other. So before he could be executed, because that's said somewhere in the anime that he's going to be executed, he breaks out, finds his way to Rachel, and basically says, I'm here to fulfill my promise. And she seems happy about it and goes with him. The way they ended this, you could literally stop this anime here and it would have been perfect. They could go on into a second season, but I don't know how that would play off. So I think if they're going to do it right, leave it here, don't go any further. Is this a good horror anime? Yes, in my opinion it is, because it is not a physical horror anime, it is a psychological one. Should you watch it? I say yes, you go out and watch it. If you are a fan of the game, you may or may not like this, because I've heard mixed reviews on game players, but if you just go in it for the horror aspect, I say do it. My name's the Noob. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. Did you enjoy this? Do you have any horror animes that you might suggest to me that I haven't seen? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, I'll talk to you later. See ya.